Yo, what's going on guys? Mush back at it with a $700 full setup gaming PC build. Now this build will include the monitor, the OS, as well as a keyboard and mouse. Now I know that it's been a big point in PC gaming recently that now is not a good time to build a PC because everything that's going on with mining, a lot of GPUs are shooting up in price. However, if you are on a lower budget like we are here, a $700 budget for a full setup, so you're really only spending like $550 in the main rig, you're not going to be spending any more than like $150 on the GPU, and GPUs under $150 haven't been impacted all too much by this mining craze because they aren't the GPUs people are picking up to mine with. So the GPUs under $150 are still fair game to pick up, and you can pick them up at great prices. There's still deals for a lot of them still popping up. So yeah, at this kind of a budget, still an alright time to build a PC. So with that being said, let's get right into this with the CPU. Now the CPU is interesting. I went with the AMD Ryzen 5 1400 3.2 GHz quad-core processor. Now, in an ideal world, I would have liked to wait for the Ryzen 3 CPUs to come out. I am very much excited for those CPUs because those are going to be even cheaper than the Ryzen 5s, and it's going to add a lot more potential in configuring budget-oriented PCs because then we're going to have more options and see what configurations work the best. Right now, the Ryzen 5 1400 is really the only option, and it comes still at a great price of $155. It's a 3.2 GHz quad-core processor with 8 threads, so it's a very capable CPU. It's quad-core with 8 threads, meaning that if you do want to do things like live streaming and video editing on a budget, this CPU is not a bad option. The Ryzen 5 1500X is also a really good option if you want to spend another $30, but that's going to put you over our budget, so the 1400 is still a really solid option, and for the price of $155, it's just a great quad-core CPU, and like I said, 8 threads, and that's even better. For the motherboard, I went with the MSI B350 Gaming Plus ATX AM4 motherboard. This motherboard is around $95, but Newegg has also got a $20 mail-in rebate, knocking it down to $75. That's a really good price for this motherboard if you decide to take advantage of the mail-in rebate. Otherwise, $95, it's a fine deal. This is a really nice motherboard for the price. It's got a very aesthetically pleasing black and red color scheme, so if you do want to mess around with the color scheme of this build, feel free. Although at a budget like this, that should really be at the bottom of your priority list. As far as features go, you got 4 RAM slots up to DDR4 3200, 64GB of RAM support. It's got RAID support, 4 SATA 60bps ports, and onboard USB 3 headers. So for the price after the mail-in rebate, really good deal. And the motherboard currently is on sale on Newegg, so it's gonna end in 4 days. So if you're eager to pick this up, pick it up as soon as possible. For RAM, you're gonna go ahead and pick up G.Skill Ripjaws 4 Series 8GB, 2 4GB sticks running at DDR4 2400, $60, which is a pretty good deal for 8GB of RAM prices have been slowly increasing, which is kind of unfortunate, but $60 for 8GB of RAM is pretty good, and since the motherboard does have 4 RAM slots, you can upgrade it easily in the future. 8GB of RAM is still perfectly fine for now. I know a lot of games do recommend 16, but as long as your setup is pretty good, you'll be fine with gaming with 8GB of RAM. Over the course of the next few years, as higher end games come out, you might want to look into getting 16GB of RAM, but as of right now, that's not crucial, and like I said, you can just add 8GB of RAM anytime in the future. Moving on to storage, had to forego the SSD here and just go with the Western Digital Caviar Blue 1TB, which you can find for around $47. That's a good price for 1TB of storage. Honestly, if you're building a PC in 2017, I would like to get an SSD in there, but this is more on the budget side of things, so you just can't really fit it in unless you forego the hard drive entirely and just go with an SSD, but then you're really limited on storage. Honestly, at a budget, an SSD is just not essential. It's a very nice thing to have, but when you're on a budget, it's about maxing out the necessities, and with the Caviar Blue, you're still gonna get by just fine. It's a great mechanical hard drive, and I've used several of these hard drives over the last 4 or 5 years, and I think I've only had one fail on me over that course of time, and I've put several of them in various rigs, so that's pretty good. I've also mentioned in recent videos that, you know, a terabyte for a lot of people is gonna be a little limiting. On the surface, a terabyte sounds like a lot of storage space, but now that you have games ranging from 50 to 100 gigabytes, if you are somebody like me where you're buying a lot of the new releases on Steam, and you like to have a lot of games downloaded at once, maybe take a look at some 2TB drives from Seagate. They're a little bit more expensive at $70, but maybe that's something you want to look at. I think for the majority of you guys, 1TB is gonna be enough. I know just for some of you guys, you want to download a bunch of movies, download emulators, download ISOs and ROMs and all that kind of stuff, and then download all your games, maybe record videos. And yes, if you're crafty, you can do all that and get by with a terabyte. I just think some of you guys may be looking to having 2 terabytes. Moving on to the video card, the Zotac GeForce GTX 1050 1050 Ti 4GB GPU is available for $140, and it comes with a free copy of Rocket League, which is a very nice addition. If you factor that in, that's like a $20 game, so you end up getting the GPU for $120. That's a pretty good deal. The 1050 Ti is also a very solid GPU for high quality 1080p gaming. As far as like comparisons to older GPUs, it actually performs roughly similar to the GTX 770. That was a great GPU back in the day, and still to this day at 1080p, it does really solid performance, and that's what you can expect out of the 1050 Ti. It's not going to max out all of the higher end games and get 60 frames per second, but at high settings, getting 50 frames per second, that's very, very playable, far better than what you would get on a console. And for the price that it is, $140, a free copy of Rocket League. Honestly, if you look at every GPU on the market right now, the 1050 Ti might be the best price to performance GPU. Obviously, that's a little weird right now because all of the mid-range GPUs are just insanely priced, but nonetheless, 1050 Ti, best deal on the market right now. So yeah, very solid GPU for the price. For the power supply, you can honestly get something low end. I picked the Corsair CXM 450 watt 80 plus bronze certified PSU. It is semi-modular, it's $47, and then it's got a $20 mail-in rebate as well, knocking it down to just $27. That's a great deal on a 450 watt power supply that's semi-modular. And 450 watts is perfectly fine. This build is super power efficient. You're not going to go for a multiple GPU configuration. Maybe you want to pick up a 500 watt, 550 watt power supply just in case if you want the opportunity to upgrade to say like a 1060 or something like that in the future. At that point, get a 500 watt power supply and you'll be just fine. Honestly, with this 450 watt power supply, you'll be cutting it close, but you should be fine still. I'm just not a big fan of cutting it close with the power supply, but with the 1050 Ti, you're going to be perfectly fine with the CX450. And this is another component where it's an okay deal without the mail-in rebate, but after the mail-in rebate, oh my god, $27, that's a terrific deal. $47 is just kind of it's a fine deal, but nothing insane. Finally, for the case, I went with the Corsair 200R ATX mid-tower case. Honestly, you could probably get something a little bit cheaper than this. This is $50 after a $10 mail-in rebate. There's a lot of $30 to $40 cases that you can pick up instead that are very cheap. Not the best, but really at a budget price point, the case isn't something you should be spending a lot of money on. The 200R is a great case for a very cheap price. However, if you do want to save a little bit more money, you can cheap out a little bit more. It's just that where are you going to put that extra money towards? You can't put that towards the video card because there's really no other video card you can pick up. That price difference isn't going to figure in for an SSD. The only thing I could think is maybe cheap out on the case a little bit and get a better power supply for future upgrade opportunities, or maybe put that money towards the CPU. Like I said, the 1500 is also a solid option. Otherwise, the Corsair 200R for $50 after a $10 mail-in rebate, really nice deal. Alright, moving on to the peripherals. First, for the monitor, you're going to pick up the ASUS VE228H 21.5-inch 1080p monitor. Now, monitors is something that's very much a timing thing. Depending on when you watch this video, check what's on sale. Monitors is one of those things that go on sale all the time. Different monitors. You can pick up 23-inch 1080p monitors for sub $100 if you look hard enough. It's just that right now, as of recording this video, this is the best deal on the market. But if you follow my PC hardware deal series, or you just follow Build a PC Sales, the subreddit, you'll know that there's been far better deals than this on monitors. Hell, this monitor particularly has probably been under $100 before. Right now, on Newegg, it is $110, and then there is a $10 mail-in rebate, knocking it down to $100 flat, but it's probably been a little cheaper than that. As far as connections go on this monitor, you've got an HDMI port, a VGA port, and a DVI port, and it's got built-in speakers, which is always a nice inclusion. The built-in speakers are absolutely terrible. Like, I would not use those as your main speakers. However, in my opinion, it's always nice to have those as a backup. It's got a 5-millisecond response time, which obviously, you know, if you're a pro gamer, not the best, but most of you guys are not pro gamers, so that shouldn't be a problem. But like I said, this monitor is good right now, but monitors is something that's very much a timing thing. Even a few hours after I record this video, there's probably going to be a better deal than this. That's just how it goes with monitors. There's deals popping up all the time. Moving on to keyboard and mouse, this is somewhere you're really going to have to cheap out on. No picking up a really nice Corsair K70 or a Razer Black Widow. No, you cannot do that at a very tight budget. Just pick up a Cooler Master Devastator 2. It's a wired gaming keyboard and an optical mouse. Look, these cheap keyboard and mouses are fine to start out with. The Black Widow, a nice mouse, you don't need that to start out. They're very expensive, and when you're on a budget, the keyboard and mouse should be one of the things you worry about the least. Yes, it's nice to have a nice keyboard and mouse, but you can still game on lower end peripherals. For a long time, I was using a freaking HP keyboard, and honestly, after upgrading to the Black Widow, I was like, okay, but was this really worth $100? I would rather get my $100 back and just keep playing on the HP keyboard. That's literally how I was like, and if you're playing a lot of console style games, you're probably going to be using a controller, and even with these keyboard and mouses, they're not bad. I've used them before. You can definitely play first-person first-person shooters, it's not a big deal. In the future, if you really want to get a nicer keyboard and mouse, then you can pick it up. But to start out, just pick up this bundle. It's only $25, and it's a lot better than paying like $150 for a nice keyboard and mouse configuration. Finally, for the operating system, I would recommend just to pick up a Windows 10 CD key. You can find them for like $20-25 on r/Microsoft Software Swap or Kingwin. Whenever you're building a lower end rig, that's always the route I recommend going. It's much better than paying $80 for Windows 10. When I've had friends build lower end rigs, that's always the route I've had them go, and they've had no issues, and it's only $20-25. Otherwise, you can pick up Windows 10 for like $80, but I wouldn't do that, especially if you're on a budget. So that is gonna wrap up this video, guys. This $700 1080p build is gonna be pretty good for those of you guys looking to play the latest games at very good settings and very good frame rates. Unfortunately, going anything higher than this as far as budget goes, then you're gonna start getting into the issues with GPU pricing. So I'm gonna wait out a little bit longer before I bring more of those builds to you guys. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. If you have a request for a future video, leave it in the comment section down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.